It's 4:17 p.m. and I'm starting this now. I don't give a fuck. Listen, the Super Bowl came. It happened. Watched it. There's a lot of people that loved it. A lot of people that didn't. I will die on the hill that it could have been better. I mean, congrats to Kendrick. He got the position because of Jay-Z and because of Drake. He performed. SZA came out. SZA killed it. She did the little like walking around while she's singing and all that, so it was cool. I'm not sure what the whole warning wrong way means, the game over, because there was a lot of connections with conspiracy theories, with like there's this whole side of the internet that's like QAnon, and so there's a guy named Q, so he had some sort of post that had game over in it or like wrong way. So there was some sort of connection that, in my opinion, it's farther than Kendrick. I think all of those, the lights and stuff, and Trump being there with Elon, I think all of that was way deeper than a Kendrick bar trying to get at Drake saying it's game over. I think that was way above whatever all these people are speculating because their brain is just, oh my gosh, we see this and we see Kendrick on stage, but no, dude. With all this stuff happening, there's something else that meant 100%. So I don't think he did bad. I think it's so funny that this man Academics dead ass leaked his the set list like, but literally the day of. Well, okay, no, he leaked it before the day of, but the day of, Dak went live. As it was like his connection was some dude that worked at the stadium got the set list and he was a chat dude, so he sent it to Academics. Released it and was like, "Yo, I don't know if this is it, but I'm just saying." And then the day of, he went live and started playing the set list. And I was like, "Yo, this is crazy." But I mean, hey, man, he didn't change it. They didn't. He doubled down. So I mean, hey, good on him. He did it. It was very boring to me. It was hilarious to see the crowd that didn't really know his songs either, because like he didn't play the hits. He didn't get up and play all of his bangers with the people. He got up there and it was a fuck Drake concert. So everyone made a big deal about him being he's gonna call Drake a pedophile on live TV for the Super Bowl. He didn't. Alluding to and saying are two different things, because whenever I would constantly see these Kendrick fanatics just roar the fact that he's gonna call him a pedophile on stage and he's not gonna bleep anything out and he's gonna get his rocks off and he's gonna have all of this momentum built up to where he's allowed to say it. He didn't do it. He literally said like "Ah," or something, like he covered the word he didn't say it. Certified lover boy, certified like if you're fucking say it, dude. But he didn't. He did do the A minor, but you can't hear him say pedophile, but you can hear him say A minor. So it's one of those like, did they pick and choose which one that they want to put out? Like, which one do they want to amplify? Because I did see tweets on Twitter that was like, yeah, he got the whole stadium to call him a pedophile, but that's not something that was. They were flexing that they were gonna do that before the Super Bowl, and then as the Super Bowl comes, they don't do it. I also think it's so funny that because everybody's a conspiracy theorist now, he had the chain, and like I was watching the Super Bowl with my sister and her friend. She liked her friend liked Kendrick and was like, "Oh yes, blah 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 blah." But they were young, so they didn't understand the what was happening. My mom didn't even understand what was happening. I gave her the rundown of like, so this is the fuck Drake concert. This is that. So yeah, his chain had the A minor on it, and I mean, that's the only thing that other than the outfit, I still didn't really piece any big like, I don't know, Easter eggs together, because that's legit like 90% of what his performance was. It was 10% I'm saying fuck Drake because he looked at the camera and he said, "Say Drake." So, I mean, it was 10% fuck Drake, 90% if you're watching this, you're going to have a lot of stuff to pause, rewind, pause again, rewind again, just to understand what's happening here. And like the Serena Williams dancing, she was crip walking. You know who killed Serena Williams' sister? A crip. So that's all I'm gonna say. There's a lot of weird things that were only there for like 2 or 3 seconds. But if you knew what we were watching, you knew. I don't know, man. It came, it's gone. I can only assume Kendrick and his fans are going to keep dragging this out. Kendrick's not going to release an album with new music for months. This is my assumption. Because whenever you see actions like this is the trying to get rid of Drake and then go move myself to the top position. In order to stay in that top position, you have to give music that is not repetitive. The definition of repetitive at this point is putting out another fuck Drake song that is the exact same with the West Coast vibe. Because yeah, it might go viral for 3 weeks, but then after that, who's gonna listen to another fuck Drake song as Drake is actively in like Australia doing him? All of this is just proving the point whenever these fucking Drake fanatics are like, he wouldn't be anywhere if it wasn't for Drake. I don't think he wouldn't be anywhere. But I think the more he doubles down on talking about Drake, it kind of shows he kind of needs to talk about him. Because what is he going to talk about? Fires? Oh, he already did it. If something pops up culturally in LA that is like a big disturbance for peace, he'll hop on that grenade real quick. And then at the end of it, he'll be like, fuck Drizzy. So there's just, I don't understand the motive at this point if he keeps going at Drake. Because from popular's opinion, I would assume Drake's like number 7 on the chart now. He was number 1. Kendrick pulled up and he got moved down. So unless what everyone is saying they don't believe it's true, there's no reason for them to keep doubling down. Because I am also a believer that there's no shot that someone can get rid of Drake. And I'm not like a Drake fucking fanboy or nothing. I just realized the amount of work he's put up and who he is. It's not simple just to be like, oh, we're getting rid of Drake. No, it's not going to be that way. You can have Dr. Dre and Jay-Z and Apple and everybody on your side. It's not going to be a piece of cake. Especially if the United States picks up Canada. What? So that was my spiel about the Super Bowl. And if I'm being honest, Super Bowl itself fucking sucked, man. That was one of the worst Super Bowls I've probably ever seen. And I know any person from Philly is gonna like hate me for saying that, but like it wasn't entertaining at all. It was just so boring. The one thing that I found absolutely hilarious though was you see Taylor Swift sitting and she's sitting next to like Ice Spice or something. I don't fucking know, who knows. And it just pans to her on the Jumbotron, and all you hear is just boo. She looks at Ice Spice and she's like, what is happening? Like, bitch, you know what's happening. They don't like you, but you know damn well that you should ask the NFL to not put you on the Jumbotron. Because the amount of times I saw people making jokes of like, who wants to put bets? You'll see Taylor more than 50 times on the Jumbotron on the Super Bowl. Like, that was like a month before the Super Bowl. Okay, so that's going to be my spiel on the Super Bowl. I'm done. I'm not going to talk about it. This wasn't interesting. What is interesting to me, and it's crazy because I don't know what's going to happen next with this. Also, this is the rambling part of the podcast. Sorry. I don't know if I mentioned that before. This man, Kanye, is off of X now. I also just realized in the same podcast I've called it Twitter and X. I don't know what I call it. I just call it one or the other. And look, I'm going to talk about this as a person talking about what happened. I'm not going to give any opinions on, because I'm going to flat out up front and go ahead and say it. I don't agree with most of the shit this man is saying. And I shouldn't have to say this because it's going to be obvious with the shit he says. But he's been going crazy for a minute on social media. I'm going to say specifically X. I'm going to try to call it X just because that's what the fuck it's called now. Even though you could put, I'm pretty sure if you could put Twitter.com. Does it take me? It does. Yeah, it takes you straight to X. Dude, you can't have that because then people are still gonna call it Twitter because it is Twitter still. Okay. I've just come to a realization that all of this is just bullshit, and it was all just PR for us to talk about the social media platform. It's both. It is both names, Twitter and X. That's crazy. Man. So I went to go pull up his old tweets because just I want to get the ones that one I can read, two just some of the craziest ones. And I'm not gonna lie, he's also had some funny ones, man. He knows he's funny. He posted himself in a "Say No to the Nazis" with a circle around the swastika, and he said, "I used to be woke." Dog, he doesn't make it easy to even stay neutral towards himself. Like, at this point, if you didn't know who Kanye was and you just stumbled upon this, you would automatically be like, "Yo, what the fuck? We should not. We shouldn't even be paying attention to this dude." But he's a fucking musical genius. Damn. All right. So there's 20 screenshots. I don't know if this is gonna be able to focus. Oh yeah, it's 20 screenshots. Okay. I'm just going crazy. Some of my best friends are Jewish, and I don't trust any of them. Like, what? And the craziest part about all of this, every single one of them have at least over 500,000 views. A lot of them have over 1 million. This one has 2.6. Dog. And then, now this is gonna be one that I'm like, why, man? Because I was okay with the whole, I'm just not gonna talk positive on him, or I'm gonna try not to. It's just gonna be neutral throughout the whole thing because he's going fucking berserk. Then he started backing Diddy, and I was like, what? What do you get from backing Diddy? And I understand he might have some sort of like blackmail on you, maybe. That's the only thing I can imagine. Because he legit started being like, free Diddy, Puff didn't do nothing. And you're like, yo. But then he started talking about Drake called out Kendrick for beating his wife. There was a video of Diddy released beating his wife. Oh. So I was trying to find the actual post so I can, because I don't want to put words in Kanye's mouth, dog. He's putting enough of them out of himself. I just want to get it 100% accurate. And as I was doing that, I found another tweet. He said, Kendrick Lamar needs to scream free Puff from the Super Bowl stage. And we all know why. And I'm going to respectfully leave it light, just like that. But that's the hypocrisy. One's in jail, and the other is at the Super Bowl. So he started to like get on. He wasn't shitting on Kendrick, but he was kind of shining light on like the whole scenario. So he's been going crazy. He's a fucking berserk, doing a bunch of Nazi shit. I don't know what deal he's trying to get out of, man, or if he's really just trying to get attention so he can put out an album and people will listen to it. But he's still a billionaire. He says he deleted his X account because he said he's logging off. I don't know if they're gonna murk this man soon or what, but he's been speaking out a lot of like, they're gonna kill me, and he's saying where he's at. It's a lot of weird shit popping off, so that man might not be here that much longer. I really want to know why he's saying free Diddy though. There has to be something that the public just doesn't know, because the whole Diddy situation is already a fucking Venus flytrap pretty much. You got Diddy's lawyer just sitting here. They're doing their best to try to fucking clear his name. They're trying to get that man. They tried to get him for like walking for the first who knows how, like 3 or 4 trials. They were destined to do it. It didn't work. But you got his team just like right here. Anybody that has any sort of connection to the past of Diddy, that sort of kind of gets mentioned at all, they're gonna reach out. They're going straight to him, no matter who. They're seeing who pops up first, because they're peeping everyone who's quiet. And hey, I guess that if you're in their position, that's what you have to do. I don't know, but it is very, very weird, man. So this one is just straight off the dome. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was looking at which segments I'm gonna do, and pulling the curtain back, it's 4:52 on Monday. So I'm gonna edit this today and release it in a few hours. So everything is like fucking fresh, pretty much. This next segment is Cobb review. Man, Billy Gardell. Even though I was going through it this weekend because I was just fucking tired of working, the show itself, fucking fantastic. It couldn't have gone better, really. Because like Billy himself, Billy, if you don't know who Billy Gardell is, the show Mike and Molly. He's Mike, and he used to be big. Now he said he lost like 170 something pounds, an entire person lost. So very happy for him. He was also very like aware of it too. So he had jokes about it. He was very like open to just like talk about it. Super cool guy, and he was so nice. Plus, it helps that 25 years ago he was at Comedy Off Broadway, and if I remember him correctly, he was there with his wife on their second date. So it's like a special place for him, pretty much. So his wife came too. I think his nephew came or something. And the house MC, Scott, him and Billy are like friends. So Scott doesn't come around the club that often anymore. When he does, it's like a very big moment. He came for Billy and he hung out in the green room, and I was like, that's so fucking cool, man. He had so many of just like the regulars that like come out for like the big occasions, or like the people who used to work, like the old coworkers. He had so many people pull up, and I was like, this is crazy. So Billy Gardell and Comedy Off Broadway are pretty much like that. I feel like finally learning this. He was so funny though. He really is. And we got this man Lee. I was so hyped because whenever we show up for the shows, we know who's headlining, but we never know who's going to be hosting, or unless we see like on Instagram that they post about it. But we usually walk in blind, so we were just sitting there. I was also again tired, wasn't trying to be there. Look up, see this man Lee, and I was like, oh shit. For a second, I thought he was just pulling up to hang out, but then I was like, no way. I was like, he's actually that's so fucking cool. So he was there for the entire weekend, and of course he killed it. He's hilarious. He sold out like a good amount of the shows too. I just know whatever hour he's gonna release soon, that shit is gonna be polished. That is for sure. He's got it honed in pretty tight, pretty much. You could tell that he was wanting to get back out there for sure. But like show wise, that was probably one of the better shows I've seen in a while. So man, I give that. I also realized I probably haven't been doing the rating with mics for the last few. Some of them are just gonna be like if I remember, I guess. But I remember this time. So there's very few that I'd give 5 out of 5. I'd give Billy Gardell's 5 out of 5, 100%. I got a few more things that I'm gonna rant, or not even rant, that I'll yap about. And then I'm gonna hit some segments. I could tell. It's gonna be a short one. Alright, so this next segment is gonna be a new branch of an ongoing segment. Entertainment Central. But this time I'm gonna talk about a show that's upcoming at the comedy club, because this is something that I haven't seen before and I'm very excited for. And ironically enough, I've been bitching and complaining about working all these shows nonstop. The one show I get off, like the first one I get off in a while, for this show I'm talking about. But that just means I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna pull up and be like, yo, what's good? Let me support. But it's called Quincy's Pals. And the comedian itself is Dale Jones, which I've talked enough on this podcast, my opinion on Dale Jones. He is so fucking funny. But the Lexington Humane Society partnered up with Dale and Comedy Off Broadway to do a fundraising show called Quincy's Pals at the Comedy Club. I don't know the behind the scenes deal that they made to how much, but I can only assume with how generous the owner of the comedy club is, because we get compliments as if we're the mothership because we benefit from the bar. The bar goes crazy. We don't have food, so people just get hammered. The bar goes crazy. The ticket sales is majority of this is who this goes to. This is what we split. This is so and so. For this, I can only assume, because how good of a person he is, majority of this is probably going straight to the Lexington Humane Society, which is awesome. So I'm happy for that. And again, knowing him, he probably made it to where like a portion of the bar goes to them too. So it's all super cool. I don't know who's going to be performing other than Dale, because if it's a fundraiser, I figured it would be like a speech in the beginning, somebody thanking them for coming to support Lexington Humane Society, then talking about the Lexington Humane Society, and then there's probably some sort of like moment of briefing where they're like, if you want to go adopt an animal, you can do this, this, and this, and then they probably bring out the opener or the middle act, because I would assume what I just explained was the opener or the host. So then the middle act would probably be someone local. I don't know. Hopefully, dude, it would be so cool if we get like Alex Hernandez or something. Because like Dale, he's local enough. I'm pretty sure it's like Louisville, Indiana. I think Louisville, I'm not sure. But he's like a friend of the club damn near. So if we can also get a local person to perform. Now, I'm also saying this assuming that there's going to be two comedians. His wife may come. His wife is also a comedian, I'm pretty sure. So that might make sense if him and his wife duo the duo headline. But I mean, either way, it's going to be such a fun show. Next time I record an episode for the podcast, I'll be able to, I'll do a cop review on that show because it's the first one of it. So I would try to send you all to like, oh, you should go buy tickets. But like, it says it's sold out on the website. So also, I'm a little confused what that means because I don't think we're actually sold out. I think you have to go to whatever company is partnering with the Lexington Humane Society, unless it's them, like actually just them, and you can go to like Lexington Humane Society's website and then get tickets. Hey, Quincy's pals, pause and punch. Let's get it. Wait, what? Silent auction. Oh, wait. What? Wait a, wait a second. Wait a second. So, as I was looking this up, turns out the silent auction, which of course it makes sense on how they're gonna raise the money for the Humane Society, but did not know this part. I mean, it's cool. I'm not sure how this is gonna play out. I'm assuming in the lobby there's gonna be like a bunch of tables or something, and they're gonna have a bunch of papers where you just go and bid on stuff. But man, I just felt so bad for Dale just now. One, I understand why I'm not necessarily needed, because whenever I saw sold out on the website, I was like, oh shit, like how crazy is it? But like, oh, I didn't even acknowledge how to buy tickets. Tickets are sold out. You can continue to support. Okay, so they actually are sold out. Good for them. It's gonna go one of two ways. They're going to have it all set up in the lobby, and then in the actual showroom, there's just going to be Dale and the seats where the people can watch a show that they pay to see. The other way, and the way I hope it's not gonna go, is they're gonna have stuff in the lobby. The door's gonna be propped open, the lights are gonna be on, and they're gonna have stuff in the showrooms displayed. Because that way, there is way more space. But that means Dale's gonna have to do a comedy show with the lights on, talking to a crowd of people that are probably actively talking, not paying attention to them, to the few that are seated in the whatever left. Well, because if it said it's sold out can mean one of two things. We sold out the room, so they have to do it in the lobby, or it means they sold out the reserved seats that they said they would allow. So they're like, we can get 150 people in, and we can set them in this area, then everything outside of that. So that just means Dale would be performing to those people. Man, this just changed the entire perspective on this Cobb review. Because I'm going. I'm not working. Believe it or not. I'm going as to support. So like, I'm going to be honest. It might work out perfectly because Dale is just that type of comedian, but we'll see. So I've been doing this a lot lately, and I'm going to introduce a new type of segment that I'm doing. I figured I need like a list of 10 segments that I can pull from to not make the episodes repetitive. So this next one, it's long overdue. This one's just called ramble tone. And buddy, I'm gonna say a topic and I'm gonna ramble about it. And this one specifically, I think 60 to 70% of the people that know me have no clue. But like, it's crazy that I actively have Tourette's. And the most that really stands out that I notice is either driving, if I'm in the middle of my day job, or if it's like late at night and I'm really tired, but I'm forcing myself to stay awake. Because then it's like on 10. But it's not like the holler on shuffle kind where you're just like, fuck shit damn. And I've talked about it in previous podcasts, but I've been informed of new people listening to the podcast. And I don't know if they're going to go back and listen to season 1 because that is a war zone. So I figured I would just ramble about it some more. It's so funny being at the comedy club. And there's certain things that I actually do where it's like, oh, I can see that you have Tourette's. And one of the biggest ones is my eyes, my eyebrows. I raise my eyebrows a lot. And I know the Tourette's I have, it's not verbal. So it's all like if I get anxious or nervous or really focused, that's when it all starts to ramp up. So I'll just be sitting there talking to somebody. Either I get nervous or anxious, or I just get like mad focused on our conversation. And I'm not wearing a hat at the comedy club, so I'll just be looking at them. I'll just be like, and it's for the people that don't know or they just forget. They look at me and they're just like, "What the fuck are you trying to? Why are you pointing your eyes at me?" And then I have to be like, "Ah, yeah, I have Tourette's, my bad." And they're like, "Oh, really? I didn't even know." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's because I'm not saying fuck shit damn all the time." It's also interesting seeing the comedians that like they've traveled the world, they understand, they've seen all sorts of shapes and sizes and colors and effects and all sorts of shit because it's a comedy club. That's where the not the most pure people end up going most of the time. So I'll be talking to a comedian, and what I just said might happen, and they'll be like, some of them, like there's a, like Josh Blue asked, "You got Tourette's?" Blew my fucking mind. He was the only person that's like gone like the taking the step forward and be like, "Hey, look, I might look like an asshole if I'm wrong," but he asked, and he was like, "Oh, you have Tourette's?" And I was like, "Yeah, that what?" Because he also is he's cerebral palsy. I think that's how you say it. But whenever a comedian will notice the eyebrows, because it's very obvious, because we're just talking. It's like eyes to eyes. So whenever we're 2, 3 feet away from each other, if there's somebody that's talking to you like this and then like natural looking is your conversation, yeah, and you look around, but if you're having this type of conversation and then you do my eyebrow thing like I showed earlier, you can visibly see their eyes go like look up and then you're like, yeah, they just saw it because I can feel every time I do it. It's like I tell people it reminds me of like it's not this intense, but whenever you have to sneeze, you get that like sensation of like, oh, I have to sneeze. It can go away, but it never goes away. It's not it's very unsatisfying. So whenever I have the urge to do a tick, as they call it, it's like the same connection as the sneeze though. Like I don't have the sensation of like my nose burning, but I get like it's not a tingle, but it's the more I go on without doing the tick, it makes me like my eyes start to like kind of I don't know if you could see like raise a little bit. So this is my eyes normal, like my not my eyes. These are my eyebrows normal. And then whenever I have like the feeling, like what I'm referring to as like that sneezing feeling, if I don't do it over time, my face will just naturally like start to go up. And I can avoid that if I get the feeling and I instantly do like one of those, then I'm chilling and then it just resets and I keep going. But then over time it'll force itself to like, nope, either look like that. Either way you're going to go up. So it's very weird. Because then people also ask like, what other ticks do you have? And I've got a few. And the craziest part is the doctor told me, he was like, look, you're gonna turn 21 and you're either gonna have it for life or it's gonna go away. And I turned 21 and I was still freaking out with my eyebrows, so I still have it for life, I guess. I'm finding new ticks like daily sometimes. For a while, it was This is gonna sound fucked, and I'm low key exposing the family, but I understand it. Whenever I was a kid, I would do this with my throat all the time, and I was a tick. I'd have to eat away from everybody because it was like, all right, look, come on now. I had that one. There's one I still actively do with my hands every now and then. If I'm just sitting there, if you look at my hands, you'll see it's this specific finger. I don't know why. Just doing it right now, I don't have like a feeling of like doing this. Like this is just like automatic to me. It's so fucking weird. I don't get it. And if you're just listening and you're not watching, my hands up and the ring finger it's pushing down like touching my hand, but like it's like an automatic motion, and I can go without doing it. But whenever I do have that feeling, and that's this specific tick is where how I mentioned like my eyebrows will just naturally go up if I don't move my eyebrows. This specific one is like a hey look, you're going to do it because there's times I'll do it in my if I'm focusing or if I'm talking to somebody like I'll one of my jobs at the comedy club is checking people in. So like if I have the tablet and I'm at the door, I'll be looking and then I'll have that feeling and I'll just be like, nope, 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 I'm talking to somebody. I don't want to do it right in front of them because the eyebrows are a little different. That's more of like I can be reacting to what they're saying or I can just be thinking something and my eyebrows go up. The hand is like, yo, what's your hand doing? So I'll be going, scrolling, can't find it. And I'm like, oh, geez. I get a little nervous because I'm like, are we going to have to send them to the box office? Do we not have their ticket? And then I get that feeling. Try to suppress it. Then out of nowhere, I just get my pinky popping up. And I'm like, ah, geez. Because if I'm doing this, it doesn't feel like, if I'm scrolling like this, it doesn't feel like I'm doing it. The only way it feels like I'm doing it is if I have this middle finger up and my pinky go up. Then I can push this. It's a weird complex, but it's fucking there. It doesn't make any sense to me. Whenever I was growing up, like 15, 16, I tried to understand what is Tourette's, the kind that I have at least, because I can understand the holler on shuffle because once you have that, there's a lot of stuff corrupted. For me, I thought I was chilling, but I have it, so like it's actively happening. I just don't know what the source is, and the saddest part about all of this, the medication. Well, first of all, but the medication that like they recommend, the Tourette's medication is like it legit turns you to a zombie. And the best way I can describe it is in order to do this or to do this, it's a lot of like nerves getting built up real fast. This is just what I've learned over the years of trying to figure out what the fuck the Tourette's I have. So it's all sort of it's just the nervous system and it's all sorts of stuff in your brain. It gets triggered and there's a bunch of stuff happening. Whenever you take the medicine, it pretty much nulls everything. You don't and I did take Tourette's medicine for a while. I hated it. And I don't say hate that often. It suppresses a bunch of your feelings. It's like, hey, look, you're gonna shut down for a little bit. You're gonna become a robot, and then you're just like, you don't move your eyebrows. You don't have your Tourette's tics, but you don't, also aren't yourself pretty much. You have to like force yourself to move throughout the day, and that's not worth the strain. You know what I'm saying? Especially whenever there's another medicine that should be what is recommended for it, but it's not. So that's the one sad aspect of it, because I've pretty much accepted the whole Tourette's thing. It doesn't really bother me. The beginning it kind of did, but now I'm just used to it. The medication is what still gets me upset. It's like, dude, fuck you all. But that's my rambling. Ramble Tones, the new segment. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And as always, I'm going to end it with shout out to a real one. This shout out, it's very well deserved. Fucking Lee Kimbrell, dude. He even mentioned, he was like, oh, talk about the podcast coming back. And I was hyped from that. But every time he comes, it's just all right, bet. It's going to be a good weekend. We're chilling. We're all going to be happy. Even though this weekend I still kind of was like, I don't want to be working. But him being there was also just enough to be like, all right, he still has that good enough positive energy that it's going to uplift me out of the funk and keep everybody neutral or happy. So he's just a great vibe to be around, and he's so fucking funny. he literally travels with Theo. And I can, man, I this just popped in my head, and this is a perfect way to fucking end it. I've given my experience with Theo Vaughn on the podcast before for many months, maybe even years. Not years, not many of years, but maybe like a year, but many of months. I've disliked Theo Vaughn, like actively, justified from what I experienced. We were like in person talking, so I'm saying this as someone who's not just like watching his content and I'm like, fuck this guy. This is something that I did something for him and he acted as if he was an asshole. Multiple, like I give comedians 3 strikes and he hit 4, so that's enough for my justification wise. But Lee, he travels around with Theo and he's friends with Theo. I don't know if he's friend. I would say he's friends with Theo. So last time he was there, I asked him. I got some confirmation. Like as I was actively getting fucked over by Theo, I asked for Lee and I got confirmation. I was like, all right, that's good to know. Whenever he came back for his headlining show, I was gonna ask him, but I forgot. I got busy, carried away. He left, and I was like, damn, I should have asked him. He was here for this weekend show for Billy, and I was like, all right, look, I regret not asking you last time, and I need to ask you this time. Is Theo better? Is he any better? And he basically just unloaded it 100% honestly and was like, yeah, dude, he's a human. He's acknowledged it. He shits on himself a lot. So everything he said pretty much made it to where I don't look at him in like negative light as much. I'm gonna wait for him to come back to the club and then I'm gonna determine how he reacts that time. Because the very first time I met Theo, he was cool. He was all over the place. And he was kind of diva-ish, but it wasn't like a diva, you know what I'm saying? It was more of like being green to how our system worked. So that's excusable. The second time, he was more famous, so it was a lot more all over the place. But he was nice, but it felt like the nice you give to the employees where you're working. It was just kind of see-through-ish. So I didn't look at him negative there. I was just like, okay, yeah, he's got a lot of shit going on. He's busy. That third time, dude, that was the one where I was like, yo, he got the 4 strikes, dude. Most of them that I end up like putting on the shit list, they've gotten the 3 strikes, or they just like completely knocked off the page completely, and like they spit on our fucking floor. I'll say that in some future podcast, and I'll out the fucking name of them. But man, if you hit 4 strikes, that's like I said earlier, more than justified. And he did. So I'm gonna wait until he comes back, and I'm gonna see like, all right, see how it plays out. I'll probably bring it up to him to be like, hey, look, hopefully you've been all good, man, because last time you were here, I'll tell him, and then I'll get his perspective from it, I guess, because I don't really have that nervousness when talking to comedians anymore, which I realized. Like, for example, this weekend, Billy Gardell is a huge name. I mean, he is very famous. It's whenever I talk to him now, it's like I'm talking to like an employee at the comedy club, which I think it's cool. I'm still waiting for the one to really shock. The only person I could think that's like in comedy wise that like if I got face to face and started talking to, I would be like, oh, I'm a little nervous. Like my fucking hands will start acting up. It would probably be like Rogan or Dave Chappelle maybe. And I think Dave Chappelle is more of like I don't want to look like a dork. Whereas Rogan, it's like I don't want to step on a future opportunity. If that makes sense. Because I can't imagine anybody, like any of my top fives, I've talked to them all that I've seen at the comedy club. The top fives that I liked before this, I've talked to all of them except like Ari and Bert. Maybe Andrew Schultz, but I don't think I'd be nervous in front of Andrew Schultz anymore because the amount of times we've talked over DMs, it's a weird feeling. And I actively felt it leave. Like, oh man, in the very beginning. Oh, also, I just totally turned Lee shout out to yapping. I'm sorry, Lee. But in the very beginning, I was legit like, my hands would not only do the freaking outs, they would like low key be shaking. I'd have to put them like in my pocket if I was like talking to Tom Segura. It was very weird to feel nervous talking to this comedian, and then a month later, I'm gossiping with this comedian, and then a few months down the road, I'm talking shit with this headlining comedian about other headlining comedians, and we're just like fucking spitting back and forth, just talking. It blew my mind, but I think it's super cool though. And again, I apologize, Lee. I led your shout out to Rambling. What I do best in this pod, just fucking shout out to you, man. Anytime he comes to the comedy club, it's gonna be like, all right, we're gonna have Lee's community. It is a positive vibe everywhere. His parents might even show up. You might see his parents, which is I love that support too. That's so cool. So shout out to Lee, and that is it for episode 6. See you in the next one.